What's up? This is Let's Talk Money. We're going to actually break down today's topic, which is understanding credit. We try to keep all of these podcasts under 10 minutes, just some quick information that can help you out. If you want to go deeper, feel free as a member of the College Coaching Network family that you can always shoot us questions and we'll do our best to either research or just give you the honest answers that we have from our own experience. So I'm going to actually use this podcast today to kind of express to you some things that I personally have been through. I personally made some bad decisions in regards to my credit. I never forget when I was in college, I actually got a Discover card. When you go to college, they'll have all these people with free T-shirts. Dave Ramsey talks about it, and they want you to sign up for a credit card. And then when you get the credit card, you haven't been taught how to use it properly, and you'll put pizza on the credit card and you'll get your clothes done and all that, and you buy Jordans and all the other stupid stuff that we do. And then you notice that when you look at getting a job and they pull your credit, that you couldn't maintain keeping those payments because a lot of times in school you don't have a job. And so now you got to make these payments and they're minimum payments and you're overextended on the credit limit and it's just not a good start coming out of college. So want to share some tips that I've learned along the way and be able to give you some ideas of what you can do to make sure that you're in the best position possible in regards to your credit. So when you talk about credit, there's two types of credit. There is no established credit, and then there is credit that, well, three, I guess. There's good credit, and then there's credit that needs to be reestablished. So those who have good credit really don't need to listen too much to what I'm talking about. My focus right now is those who need to establish credit or those who need to reestablish credit. Credit can go from 300 all the way up to 850 if you have good credit quickly. So I want to give you something. If you've got credit cards and they're, let's say the balance, the high balance is 5,000 and you've got $4,000 that you've put on the card. Maybe you went out and bought something and furniture or a stereo or whatever you bought, Apple or Mac computer, whatever. You want to make sure that if you've got good credit, that maybe you can call the company and ask if they can extend your limit. You want to keep your balances, the total amount that you've borrowed against the total high limit at about 35 to 40%. So if you're over that number, you can either pay it down to make sure you're maximizing your credit, or you can actually call and ask if they would extend it. If you have good credit, and getting them to raise your limit is not going to be a problem. You just got to be self-disciplined enough not to go out and spend more money. Okay, so that's one of the things that you can do. You can also go out and actually get another trade line, or you can actually have someone pay that off. You know, let's say you've got a Discover card, you've got an American Express sending you a new card offer, lower introductory interest rate. Maybe you can roll the balance from the Discover to the American Express, and just as an idea to try to get that balance under that 35 to 40% ratio. So I've seen people play that game. I do want to put a quick disclosure out. This is just for informational purposes. If you want to get a professional, you can actually seek a credit attorney, or you can actually go talk to a person, a lawyer, or someone that can actually help you professionally in that regard. I'm just sharing my personal experiences with each person that's on this podcast today. So I do want to do that disclaimer to make sure that I'm covering myself. So moving forward, those who don't have any established credit, one of the things you can do is actually go out and get a CD loan. That's right, a CD loan, meaning you can go to a bank or a credit union and you can give them what is called a collateralized loan. You can take a $500 amount that maybe you had in your savings, or if you got something from the school like a Pell Grant, or if you got some money, you got some extra money that you got from the school, you can take that money instead of just blowing it. You can actually buy a CD and then basically buy the CD, and you can borrow the money right from the CD and put it back into your savings account. They're going to take the money normally over a 3 or 6 or 9 month period, sometime a year, to repay that loan back. And so if you basically borrow the money back, just put it in your savings account, and they're going to charge you, I would say if it's a $500 loan, probably no more than about 20 to 30 bucks for you to take this loan out. But every time they take the payment out of your savings or your checking account, it's being reported to the three bureaus. The three bureaus are Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. And so that's actually allowing your score to get boosted, and it's putting you in a good position to establish credit. And you can keep rolling that every 3 months, 6 months, 9, 12 months, however often it takes for you to pay that CD off. And it's just establishing positive trade lines that allow you to get those up. Some of the other things you can do is if you don't have any established credit, you can get a Capital One card and just use it for your gas, or you can get some kind of credit card that reports to all three bureaus and get that to basically use it just as maybe groceries that you pay off at the end of each month, or just gas and you pay it off at the end of each month. But you just want to get in the habit of maybe using those things that are showing credit history to improve your score. If you don't have any established credit, it's a lot easier to take your scores up as opposed to someone who's reestablishing their credit. So those are some of the tips and tricks you can use to get those up. Now for me, I had some credit issues. I took out a Discover card, and I defaulted unfortunately on that Discover card because I wasn't really smart with how I managed that. And so I had to try to get a what they call it, like a settlement, where you call them and ask them to try to get your balance down or whatever. So I did that, and I paid that off. And then I wanted to start buying real estate. I always wanted to be a real estate investor, and my credit at the time was 580, which is not a good score. And so what I did was I paid off all the things that I had on my credit that were collections or that were negative, which is the Discover card. And now I needed to establish some new trade lines, and I didn't have that. And the biggest boost to your credit is getting a trade line that is called an aged, AGED trade line that's been around for a while. And so I had a friend of mine that his wife actually allowed me to use her credit cards as an authorized user. So she put me on her credit cards. It was two of them, and they were both credit cards that she had for probably 7 to 10 years. And so she added me on those. They sent the cards out to me. Well, actually, they sent it to her address, and then we cut them up. Now, I never used them, but all of her history, it was 7 to 10 years of good repayment history, all went to my credit report, and my score went from 580 to 705 in less than 90 days. I was able to buy real estate, no money down because my credit was over 700. I went out and bought a Infiniti QX56 truck without a job. I'd only owned my business for 1 year. They never asked for a pay stub, bank statements, proof of having a job or any of that stuff. It was just my credit was A1, and I walked out of there with a 2-year-old car that was extremely nice. So you can use that as a way. Another thing that I've seen people talk about is called season trade lines. So season trade lines is maybe you don't know a person like the woman that I knew, and there's companies out there that actually sell season trade lines. You do your research and all that on your own, but they will actually allow you to use those season trade lines to be added to your credit. And they normally are only allowing you to use that trade line for maybe up to 90 days. So if you're looking to get a short-term boost in your credit, you can possibly look at that as an alternative. Do Google searches on it and do your own research. But I've seen people use that to have great success if they're trying to boost the scores up to apply for a credit card or something like that, or a home loan or a car loan, whatever you're trying to do. So that's another tip or trick that you can use. Some of the other things that you can do is definitely, once you get your scores up, is apply for a couple cards. If you get frustrated, if you're trying to buy a home or whatever, never cut your cards up. Never call. Well, you can cut them up, but never call and tell them you're going to cancel. And those older cards that you may have, because your credit is derived of the history of those trade lines that you have. So the longer you have them active, you can pay them down to zero and listen to Dave Ramsey and say, I'm going to get rid of all this mess. But do not close those cards, because that will take your scores down if you lose that history on your credit report. So those are just some of the tips and tricks I want to share with you today. It's very important that if you ever have a collection or a charge off, that you understand how to dispute that. You can do that through Equifax, Experian, or TransUnion. You can call them and they can actually help you dispute it yourself, or you can hire a company. There's a lot of people out there that you can research in regards to good companies for being able to get those things disputed, and they'll do it for you to get them off. If you've had a bad trade line for 7 years, they can normally go out and dispute that and get that deleted. There's a lot of rules and regulations for that. You want to definitely get inquiries off your credit, because they will hurt your credit. You want to make sure that if you're applying for a job and maybe there's a gap in your income, not income, but a gap in your employment, that, or you maybe don't want to disclose a job anymore. It was a month and it was just a bad situation, and they're actually reporting on your credit. I don't know if you know this, but you can actually have the bureau update and have that job deleted from your credit report. So just make sure that you get deeply involved in what's necessary to get your credit scores up. I definitely know that you can maintain good credit. Never overextend yourself. One of the main reasons why people have bad credit is because they actually have overextended themselves. They bought something today with the hopes that maybe tomorrow they would have the money to pay for it. If you don't have the money today to do it, really stay away from using credit cards, because it's going to put you in a situation where you're going to be worse off tomorrow than you are today. Just be patient, and just display just patience. I mean, it takes time to be able to get the things in life that you want. So just have patience and everything will come your way. Have a great day. Just want to share some tips on credit.